Welcome back to the deep dive. We spend a lot of time on this show talking about systems.
Right.
We talk about economic systems, political systems, tech ecosystems. But today, I want to zoom in on the most primal system of all.
Oh, yeah.
The one that arguably messes us up the most and, well, saves us the most.
Mm-hmm.
The family.
It is the original system. I mean, it's the first government you ever live under, really.
Right. And usually when we talk about family, we default to biology. We think about the family tree, the DNA test results, the blood of the lamb, if you grew up in the church like I did.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we're wrestling with a much stickier question for you all.
Mm-hmm.
What actually binds people together? Is it blood? Or is it something messier? Is it shared trauma? Is it the person who held your hand while the rest of the world looked away?
Yeah, it's the debate between kin as a noun, something you are born into, and kin as a verb, something you actively do.
Exactly.
And the source material we are diving into today, the novel Kin by Tayari Jones, it really just takes a sledgehammer to the idea that biology is destiny.
This book destroyed me, by the
Yeah.
way. It's dense, it's heartbreaking, and it is incredibly specific. It's set in the mid-20th century South, but the questions it asks are so timeless.
And universal. I mean, it explores the lives of two women, these two cradle friends, who start in the exact same poverty and then diverge into two completely different stratospheres of Black American life. One goes to the heights of the Atlanta elite, and the other sinks into the grit of the Memphis blues scene.
So grab a glass of ice water, because we are starting in the heat. And I mean heat.
Oh, absolutely.
We were dropping right into chapter 1 in a town called Honeysuckle, Louisiana. It is August. And if you've never been to rural Louisiana in August, let me just paint the picture for you. The air is an air. It's hot soup.
Yeah.
You breathe it in, and it coats your lungs.
And the sensory details in this opening chapter are just crucial. We are in a canning kitchen. This is a space of intense, industrial-level domestic labor. It's not a cozy kitchen scene.
No, not at all.
There are vats of boiling water to sterilize mason jars. The women are shucking snap peas and pole beans until their fingers are stained green. It's loud, it's humid, and it is a distinctly female space.
And in the middle of this steam bath, sitting on the floor between the knees of her Aunt Irene, is a silent little girl named Vernice. Everyone calls her Niecy.
Right.
And she is getting her hair plaited. Now, Niecy she's a character that immediately makes you want to protect her. She's silent. She walks in her sleep. The town thinks she's peculiar.
Well, she is carrying a massive amount of trauma for a child. Her backstory is horrific. Her mother, Arletha, was murdered by her father.
Yeah.
And then her father turned the gun on himself. So Niecy isn't just an orphan, she is the survivor of a murder-suicide pact.
Which makes her the designated poor thing of Honeysuckle.
Exactly. She is walking tragedy. But in this scene, something shifts. Aunt Irene is raking a hot comb through this child's hair, which, if you know, is a specific kind of pain.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the silent child speaks. She doesn't whisper. She bellows. She screams one word. Mother.
And the room just dies.
It freezes. The text says, "Every heart in the house contracted, vulnerable as a scalded tomato."
That line. Vulnerable as a scalded tomato. That is such a specific image for a canning kitchen.
It really is.
It implies that these women, as tough as they are just one wrong touch away from falling apart.
It's brilliant writing. But let's look at the psychology of that scream for a second. Niecy is screaming mother, but her mother is dead. And Irene is right there physically touching her, caring for her. But Niecy isn't calling for Irene. She is calling into the void. She is invoking a ghost.
It sets up the central thesis of her life, doesn't it? She's defined by a hole, a mother-shaped hole.
Precisely. For these characters, mother isn't just a person who makes you lunch. It's a destiny. It's a haunting. And Niecy isn't the only one dealing with this. This brings us to the other half of our duo, Annie.
Annie. I love Annie. She is the opposite of Niecy in every way. Niecy is quiet. Annie talks in her sleep. Niecy is still. Annie is constant motion. The book calls them cradle friends.
That's a term we need to pause on. Cradle friends. It implies a bond that predates memory. They didn't meet at school. They didn't meet at a party. They literally slept in the same drawer or crib as babies because their families were so intertwined and resources were so scarce.
The quote that stuck with me is, "We are each other's business." That's not just friendship, that's shared sovereignty.
It is. But while they share a cradle, they don't share the same social standing, even in this tiny, poor town. And this is where the sociology of the book gets really interesting. Niecy is motherless by death. Annie is motherless by abandonment.
Right. Annie's mother is Hattie Lee. And Hattie Lee didn't die. She just left. The text says she left when the cord was cut. She vanished to God knows where.
And that distinction, death versus abandonment, it changes everything about how the town treats these two girls. Nisi gets pity, her tragedy is final, it has a certain dignity to it. She is the victim of a crime.
So she's deceased, basically, in their eyes.
Yeah.
But Annie
gets suspicion. Because her mother is still out there, running the streets, likely drinking, likely living a sinful life, the town looks at Annie and waits for the other shoe to drop.
They label Hattie Lee, and by extension Annie, with a word that feels like a weapon in this book.
Trifling.
We have to unpack trifling.
Please do, because to a modern ear, trifling might just sound like lazy or annoying. Like, oh, he's trifling because he didn't do the dishes. But in Honeysuckle in the 1940s, it feels much heavier.
It is nuclear. In this cultural context, trifling is a character indictment. It's worse than being called evil or mean. If someone is mean, they have agency. They have power.
Right.
If someone is trifling, it means they are no count. It implies a moral vacuum. It means you are unreliable, selfish, and fundamentally broken.
It's dismissive. It's saying you aren't even worth the energy of hatred. Correct. And for a child like Annie, being the daughter of a trifling woman means she is spelled.
Yeah.
The community is watching her, looking for the fruit to fall near the tree. Every time Annie laughs too loud or talks too much, the old women nod and think, there it is, that's Hattie Lee coming out.
That is immense pressure. Nisi is the tender bruise everyone wants to protect. Annie is the bad seed everyone is waiting to sprout.
And look at how that shapes them. Nisi learns to be small. She learns to cry without tears because Aunt Irene, who we really should discuss, is very pragmatic, and Irene doesn't do emotions.
And Irene, she's the one raising Nisi, and she has this line that chills me. She says, regarding Nisi, I was tended to, I was never mothered. And she raises Nisi the exact same way.
Tended to, never mothered, that is a brutal distinction. It means the logistics of care were met. Nisi was clean, she was fed, her hair was combed, her shoes were bronze casted when she outgrew them, she was well lotioned, but the softness, the irrational, overwhelming love that a mother has for a child, that you are the center of my universe energy, that was missing. Irene did her duty. She fulfilled a contract to her dead sister, but she didn't offer her heart.
So you have Nisi, who is well-kept but emotionally starved. And you have Annie, who is wild, neglected by her granny, and desperate for connection.
And that desperation drives Annie's obsession. She is obsessed with finding Hattie Lee. She believes that if she can just find her mother, and if her mother has a good reason for leaving, maybe she was kidnapped, maybe she's rich and waiting to send for her, then Annie isn't trifling. She needs to redeem her mother to redeem herself.
This sets us up for the big split, high school graduation. This is the moment their paths diverge. And it's not just a geographical split, it's a massive class split.
Huge class split. This is where the Great Migration narratives fracture. Nisi is chosen for uplift. She gets sent to Spelman College in Atlanta.
The Ivy League of Black womanhood.
Exactly. It represents respectability, dignity, the talented 10th. It's the path to the Black middle class. Annie, on the other hand, packs a cardboard suitcase and takes a bus to Memphis.
Chasing a rumor.
Chasing a ghost. She goes to the city of the blues. She chooses the path of instability, of art, of the night. Nisi chooses the day. Nisi is being groomed for dignity, while Annie is hunting for truth.
So let's follow Nisi first.
Yeah.
She gets on that train and heads to Atlanta. And the description of Spelman in this era, it's like entering a different planet from Honeysuckle.
It is a fortress of propriety. You have to remember, this is the era of segregation. For the Black elite, presentation was a political weapon. If you dressed perfectly white gloves, hats, stockings, if you spoke the King's English, if you had impeccable manners, you were challenging the racist caricature of Black people. You were proving your humanity through perfection.
That's the uplift politics you mentioned earlier.
Right, but the pressure of that. Imagine being Nisi, this country girl from the canning kitchen, suddenly surrounded by the swans.
Swans. Southwest Atlanta Negresses.
A very specific, very exclusionary clique. These are girls whose fathers are doctors, lawyers, undertakers, the wealthy Black class. They have money, they have lineage. Nisi feels like a total fraud. Her nickname becomes Mouse. She tries to disappear into the woodwork.
But she doesn't disappear completely. She gets a roommate, Joette. And Joette is, well, she's a swan, but she's a black sheep swan.
Joette is crucial. She represents the alternative path Nisi could have taken. Joette is wealthy, yes, but she's rebellious. She questions the rules, and, importantly, she sees Nisi. She doesn't see Mouse. She sees Vernice.
And here is where the book gets quiet, but very loud at the same time. The relationship between Nisi and Joette isn't just gal pals.
No. The text is explicit, though understated. We became lovers that night. It's a sexual and romantic awakening for Nisi.
This blew my mind because usually in these mid-century narratives that gets glossed over completely. But here it's presented as this pocket of genuine, raw intimacy.
It is the only time Nisi is truly herself. With Aunt Irene, she was a duty. With the Swans, she's a charity case. With Joette, she is desired. She is loved for who she is. But, and this is the tragedy, Nisi cannot accept it.
Why? Why can't she just stay in that pocket?
Because it's not safe. Remember, Nisi is traumatized. She saw her parents die. She grew up with the instability of being an orphan. Joette offers love, but Joette represents risk. A queer relationship in the 1950s, that is danger. Nisi craves safety above all else. She craves a fortress.
And that fortress arrives in the form of a man, Franklin McHenry.
Enter the prince, Franklin McHenry, wealthy, handsome, from the good family. But he has his own scars.
He's a polio survivor, the one the devil tried to snatch.
That phrase is so evocative. He walks with a limp. He spent his childhood in iron lungs and hospitals. So even though he is a catch-on paper-rich, educated, a civil rights lawyer, he feels physically broken. He feels less than a man.
So he needs a wife who makes him look whole.
Bingo. He needs a prop. And his mother, Mrs. Mantry, the matriarch to end all matriarch spots, Nisi. She sees this pretty, quiet, tender girl with no family baggage, because dead parents are better than trifling parents, and she makes a calculation.
It's a transaction. It's a business deal wrapped in silk.
It is. Mrs. McHenry literally grooms Nisi. She buys her clothes, she teaches her how to pour tea, and she explicitly tells Nisi, your job is to make Franklin happy. She doesn't say, your job is to love him. She says, make him happy, make him feel like a man.
And what does Nisi get in return?
She gets the fortress. She gets the big house in Cascade Heights. She gets the Cadillac with the fins. She gets the name McHenry, which is like a shield against the indignities of the world. She trades her authentic self, the self that loved Joette, for safety.
There's that heartbreaking scene at the wedding where Nisi is standing at the altar looking out in the congregation.
Yes. She realizes today is not about Vernice and Franklin. This is about the society page, Spelman, Morehouse, Atlanta. She realizes she is an actor in a play written by the McHenrys. She has achieved uplift, but she has lost Vernice.
So Nisi is trapped in a gilded cage in Atlanta. Meanwhile, Annie is in Memphis. And she is not in a cage. She is in the wild.
It's a stark contrast. From the quiet, manicured lawns of Atlanta to the neon sweat and grit of Beale Street. Annie is working in the den, the juke joint. She's living in a boarding house. She's scraping by.
But she seems freer, at least at first.
In a way, she's not performing, she's living. She meets a guy named Bobo. And Bobo is sweet. He's a piano player, gentle soul. He loves Annie. He wants to take care of her.
But Annie can't let him.
She can't, because she is still spelled. She is still hunting for Hattie Lee. She has this belief that until she solves the mystery of her mother, she is broken. She can't build a future with Bobo because she's stuck in the past. She tells him, I can't be your wife until I'm someone's daughter.
That is profound.
Yeah.
And also deeply frustrating as a reader. You want to shake her and say, choose the love that is right in front of you.
But trauma doesn't work like that. The hoodoo element, the book weaves in the dirt and the suitcases, the idea of generational curses. Annie feels that in her bones. She feels dirty. She feels like she will inevitably hurt Bobo if she doesn't fix herself first.
And then she finds her. The moment she has been waiting for since she was a little girl in the drawer. She tracks down Hattie Lee.
And it is devastating.
It's not the movie ending.
Not at all. I think we expect, or at least hope for, a tearful reunion. Maybe Hattie Lee is sick, or she's sorry, but she's neither. She's just indifferent.
Describe the scene for everyone listening.
Annie finds her in a rundown apartment. Hattie Lee is drinking a Coca-Cola. She looks tired. She has other children around, not hers exactly, but kids she's raising or watching. That's the first knife in the heart. She abandoned Annie, but stuck around for these other kids.
And then she speaks.
She looks at Annie, this grown woman who has traveled across states to find her, and she says, I never loved you because I never knew you.
I never loved you because I never knew you, God.
It shatters the entire myth of maternal instinct. We like to believe that a mother looks at her baby and falls in love instantly. Hattie Lee is saying, no, you were a stranger to me, and I left.
It confirms Annie's worst fear. She wasn't left for a reason. She wasn't left because of a tragedy. She was left because she wasn't wanted. She was discardable.
It creates a total collapse of Annie's self-worth. If the person who made you doesn't love you, who can?
And this sends her into a spiral.
A rapid descent. She pushes Bobo away because she feels worthless. She ends up alone, desperate, drinking. She sleeps with her boss, Mr. Wilson. a man she doesn't love, a man who exploits her vulnerability.
And predictably, tragically, she gets pregnant.
Which is the ultimate hoodoo curse coming true. She is becoming her mother. Unwed, pregnant, poor, alone. She calls herself stupid and caught. She's staring down the barrel of repeating the exact cycle she spent her life running from.
So now we have the collision, the crisis. Annie is in Memphis, pregnant and terrified. Niecy is in Atlanta, rich and safe. Annie writes a letter.
The letter is a plea. She needs money for an abortion. Now, we have to contextualize this. In this era, abortion is illegal. It is dangerous. But for Annie, it is survival. She cannot bring a child into her chaos.
Niecy gets the letter, and her first instinct is to help. She's the cradle friend. She wants to save Annie, but she doesn't have her own money. She has Franklin's money.
So she has to ask the McHenrys. And this is the moment where the good family mask slips off.
Tell me about this confrontation.
Niecy goes to Mrs. McHenry in Franklin. She explains the situation. She begs for the money. And Mrs. McHenry, she looks at Niecy and suggests adoption, which sounds benevolent until she adds the condition: if the baby is light enough.
Oh, wow.
It reveals the colorism and the elitism baked into their worldview. A dark-skinned baby? No, a light-skinned baby. Maybe we can save it.
And Franklin, the civil rights lawyer, the man fighting for justice in the courts.
He refuses. And his reasoning is cold. He says it could scandalize the family name. If it came out that the McHenrys funded an illegal abortion, it would ruin his career. It would ruin their standing in the uplift community.
So he prioritizes dignity over a woman's life.
He prioritizes the image of dignity. And he tells Niecy effectively, you are a McHenry now. We don't do things like this. He forces her to choose. Are you Vernice from Honeysuckle, or are you Mrs. Franklin McHenry?
And Niecy buckles, but she doesn't give up entirely. She tries a back channel.
She goes to Joette.
Of course, Joette.
Joette, who knows the real world. Joette gives her a contact for a doctor in Atlanta who performs the procedure. But Joette also reads Niecy for filth. She points out the hypocrisy. She says, you're living in a castle, but you can't even help your friend without permission.
So Annie comes to Atlanta. Niecy brings her there. And this is the part that is hard to talk about.
It's the tragedy we've been dreading. Annie goes to the clinic. It's a clandestine setup. And while she is there, the police raid the place.
A raid.
Panic, chaos, lack of medical attention. Annie isn't arrested, but in the scramble, the procedure goes wrong. Or the delay causes complications. She hemorrhages.
And she dies.
She dies. The girl who survived the abandonment, the girl who survived the trifling label, the girl who just wanted to be known. She dies alone in a city that isn't hers.
And Niecy?
Niecy breaks. The text describes her grief as an underground waterfall. I love that image because on the surface, she is still Mrs. McHenry. She's standing there in her nice clothes. But underneath, the ground is washing away. She realizes that her safety, the Cadillac, the house, the husband was worthless. It couldn't save the one person who actually mattered.
And this leads us to the aftermath, the ending of the book, and the moment that gives the book its title, Kin.
We are at the hospital, or the morgue, the bureaucracy of death. A doctor or an official is filling out the paperwork for Annie's body. He asks for the next of kin.
Now, legally, biologically, this should be Hattie Lee, or the granny back in Honeysuckle.
But the doctor looks at Annie's intake form, and on the line for next of kin, Annie didn't write Hattie Lee. She didn't write unknown. She wrote Vernice Irene Davis McHenry.
She wrote Niecy.
That is the thesis of the book right there. Kin isn't biology. Hattie Lee was biology, and she was a stranger. Niecy was kin? Niecy was the family Annie chose. Even when they were separated, even when Niecy was living in luxury and Annie was in poverty, Annie knew who her person was.
That revelation forces Niecy to finally stop performing. She sees that name on the paper, and something snaps in a good way.
She goes home to Franklin, and for the first time in their marriage, she takes off the mask.
She confronts him.
She confronts him. She tells him, you are a good man, Franklin. You fight for people in court, but you let my friend die because you are afraid of what people would think. She holds up a mirror to his goodness and shows him the rot underneath.
And she doesn't stop there. She confesses everything.
She tells him about Joette. She tells him, I loved a woman. I'm not the blank slate you think I am. I'm Vernice from the canning kitchen, and I am queer, and I am broken, and my friend is dead.
She risks the safety she spent the whole book trying to build. She hands him the gun, metaphorically. She says, this is who I am. Take it or leave it.
And this is where the character of Franklin surprises us. We expect him to kick her out. We expect the McHenry dignity to reject this messiness. But he doesn't.
What does he do?
He listens. And he says something remarkably tender. He says, "The marriage bed is a back room where you can tell the truth."
The marriage bed is a back room where you can tell the truth.
It's an admission that the public face, the McHenry dynasty, is a performance for him, too. He's tired of acting, too. By showing him her cracks, Nisi allows him to show his. It shifts the marriage from a transaction to a partnership.
It doesn't bring Annie back. It doesn't fix the tragic.
No, but it allows Nisi to grieve. She claims Annie's body, she arranges the funeral, she brings her friend home, she steps into her power. She stops being the mouse and becomes a woman who owns her history, the good, the bad, and the trifling.
She integrates the two halves of herself, the honeysuckle girl and the Atlanta woman.
Exactly. She realizes she can be both. She has to be both to survive.
So we've traveled from the heat of the canning kitchen to the cold of the morgue, and back to a place of, I don't want to say peace, but maybe authenticity.
Resolution.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you all listening with a thought that has been nagging me since I finished the last page.
Go for it.
We spent this time talking about Nisi's pursuit of safety and dignity, and we often frame those as positive things. We tell young people, get an education, get a good job, build a stable life. And Nisi did that. She won the game.
She did. She achieved the American dream.
But look at the cost. To build that fortress of safety, she had to brick over the windows. She had to cut off Joette, the part of her that could love freely. She had to hesitate when Annie needed her, which ultimately contributed to Annie's death.
It raises a terrifying question.
It does. In our pursuit of looking good, of being respectable, of being safe, what parts of our humanity are we killing off? Are we building lives that look perfect on the outside but are empty on the inside?
Are we prioritizing the McHenry name, whatever that means, in our own lives over the Annie, the messy, inconvenient, vital human connections that actually sustain us?
Is your dignity keeping you warm at night, or is it just keeping you lonely?
That's the question Kin asks us to sit with, and it doesn't give us an easy answer.
It certainly doesn't, but it gives us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you for wrestling with this one with us. It was heavy, but it was worth it.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you in the next deep dive. Take care of your kin, whoever they are.